Good morning and welcome to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. And sorry we're a little bit late today. I have basically things in life are kind of changing, getting a little bumpy, so I'm just kind of trying to manage. That being said, today we are going to be talking about all the fun topics. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. I'm not going to catch it all, right? I'm going to try to do my best to get, through all of this stuff that's happening. Basically what we're seeing, just as an overview, like a top-down perspective, is we're seeing the contagion from FTX bleed over into literally everything else within crypto. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of things are built on top of or integrated with Solana, which has some tie to FTX, obviously, because that was one of the biggest concerns was Solana's centralization surrounding FTX. That should be a warning sign, I think, to a lot of people when we start moving into, exchanges and their tokens that are related to them. A lot of exchanges do this type of thing, and how heavily leveraged they are into their own token. And I think that's important to note, right? Everybody from crypto.com to Binance, right? They like all these big exchanges have their own token. How heavily leveraged are they into their own token to build up their balance sheets is something that's important. Another thing that's important is anything that's basically being utilized to provide some sort of generating revenue, right? Any sort of earn stuff like the crypto.com earn, the stuff we see with BlockFi, Celsius was an example of this as well. All of those also Celsius, for example, has their own token as well, so almost hitting both of it. And then we're also going to talk about, I think, just in general, I think paying attention to what's going to happen and why this, to a certain extent, has to happen within crypto, because this is, interestingly enough, this is the third cycle that I've been a part of, the second cycle that I've been mining through. And, as much as things change, they remain the same. I think the saying is like, some people will say history repeats itself, and they'll be recorrected to, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And in crypto, that's happening a lot, right? We've seen all of these crashes before. This happens right after, basically a downturn. There's nothing new under the sun here. So from my perspective, I'm not really throwing a ton of FUD at it because it's fully expected for this to happen. That being said, I think throwing some FUD at the centralized entities that are trying to participate in crypto that seem to be the ones that always cause the most strife and grief in the bear market is fair. And that comes from a perspective, from my perspective, set in the fundamentals and the principles of cryptocurrency, which says, cryptocurrency is there to provide a peer-to-peer, transaction without the interference of a centralized entity at the end of the day. So I should be able to transact with any of y'all in chat without essentially any other exchange. Now, the caveat to that, like we've talked about, we are in a hybrid phase. Just like you would be in a hybrid phase moving from an on-prem exchange server to the cloud, and you can't just do that all at once, and you have to go through through phases, one being the hybrid phase. I consider what we're in cryptocurrency to be a hybrid phase. The completion of the digital transformation will see everything digital, whether that be under a central bank digital currency and decentralized cryptocurrency, or some sort of hybrid of that for a while, is yet to be seen. My assumption would be some sort of hybrid of that, but what we're at right now is basically a hybrid version of traditional finance and fiat currency, and then of course cryptocurrency. Because of that, centralized exchanges are or could be considered essentially a necessary evil, something that basically bridges between your fiat system, right, and your primary system, because there's no way to really cash out without those centralized exchanges. So don't get me wrong, I understand where the purpose is. I just think that eventually we move completely away from that and it's non-existent, right? I think that eventually there's no need for these centralized exchanges. And what we tend to see here over and over and over again is that during a bull run, an exchange does really, really well, right? A lot of people pumping money in, a lot of people pumping money out. Everything's profitable, everything's good. And then because of the cyclical nature of Bitcoin, whether it was designed this way intentionally or not is something that I actually have quite a few questions about. But because of the cyclical nature, every 2 years we go into a bear market and it completely crushes these centralized entities and you start to see them fall one by one. And you start to see the ones that have the worst business practices obviously fall quicker than others. If you were to look over the past and say, well, what would be the best centralized entity to participate within that has a proven track record that I can utilize to cash out with, if you're looking for that, we could say something like Coinbase has been through essentially multiple cycles. Somebody like that is going to be probably, essentially safer. I'm trying to give you guys ideas. So in case you're like looking for those, and obviously like Binance has done really well through a couple cycles as well. So you have those kind of things to look at from the previous perspective in the previous cycles. Any that grow really, really fast over a single cycle would be the ones to basically keep an eye out for and be extremely cautious surrounding. Large purchases, large acquisitions during a bull run, those types of things are going to essentially be something to be wary of as well. And we are going to talk about the contagion here and the specific ties between, of course, FTX and BlockFi as well today. But I wanted to give like that brief overview, that top-down perspective, what's happening. If we were to look at cryptocurrency on a timeline and see, the adoption rates and the cyclical nature of it and what the end goal is versus to where we are on the timeline right now, obviously that's important. Where you have like the inception of Bitcoin, very few people using it. Then you have some underground people utilizing it for things like Silk Road, etc. And then you have mass adoption once Ethereum comes along. That starts to build up. Retail starts to get involved. And then you kind of, this last bull run, we start to have institutional investment, a lot more VCs involved, that sort of thing. And then pretty huge adoption to where, I can go to a jiu-jitsu gym and talk to somebody and they know what cryptocurrency is. I can go talk to a farmer or a rancher and they know what Bitcoin is, right? This is something where that's really up until this past like 2021 big phase, that wasn't quite there with that adoption. I wasn't like at the point to where it was like for sure 100% certain that pretty much I could guarantee that anybody I talked to knew would actually have some sort of, at least have heard about cryptocurrency. I think at this point that's where we're at. So that's kind of where we're at on the timeline. Now, the timeline of adoption and then of course what the end goal would be, we could talk about that too, right? Where you have the inception of pretty much at the inception, everybody's still participating in fiat currency, where the end goal would be everybody's just participating within crypto. It's all digital and there is no fiat like traditional, right? We could have the debate on what CBDCs would be classified as, but we'll have that full digital transformation. And I think we're somewhere in the middle where you kind of, we're not quite there yet. That's going to take a little ways off, right? Like I talk about like this idea of like a hybrid system that we're going to be going through for some time. And I do know though that we are seeing, of course, FedNow payment system coming into play. That'll be coming around in June. We have, the UK working on a CBDC. So as far as like everything moving digital, that's happening faster. Now, what will happen when we get into moving into decentralization of cryptocurrency? And that's really where the question comes into play. And I think to a certain extent, all the pain surrounding centralized entities is necessary to push the public into the direction of decentralization. Not dissimilar to what we're seeing with like Twitter right now. So some of the things in the past that I would look at as an example, right, would be Twitter. I think is a great example where you have two sides, two competing sides, right? Left or right, right? Let's just go with blue and red, right? Well, red versus blue. Classic Halo 4v4, red versus blue, right? You got these two sides. All they're really out there to do is try to eliminate the other one. They're going to frag them and teabag them. You know what I'm saying? That's what they want to do. And let's just say, for example, blue team has control of, you know, has control, what is it again, of the king of the hill, right? Let's say it's a king of the hill game. Let's say Twitter is the hill, and let's say blue team has control of the hill, right? Well, blue team has control of the hill. The hill is a centralized point that the community or that the public enters into or gets its information from, and that hill is controlled by blue team. So blue team gets to control the narrative, right? And red team keeps trying to come in, but they keep getting fragged and teabagged by blue team, right? But then, so at that point, you know, red team goes, well, we just need to decentralize. We have a base over here. We can start camping here. Let's get a sniper set up over here. Let's do our own thing, or we'll build our own hill, right? And then they start talking about Mastodon, and they start talking about decentralization, and red team's like, bro, this isn't working. We can't just have one hill. We need to have more hills, you know? We need to have more hills. We need to have like hardpoint, like from Call of Duty. That way, everybody, it's fair. I can have my hill over here. They can have their hill over here. And they start adopting centralization or decentralization, right? And then essentially this one like beastly player comes in and he just snipes blue team out of just boom, 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 takes over the hill. And red team's like, oh, now we got control of the hill. Woohoo! Yeah, we got control of the hill. And blue team starts coming in, and then red team's fragging and teabagging blue team. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, blue team's like, we need decentralization. Well, look, you motherfuckers. Everybody has been telling you guys, both sides, that we need decentralization. So hopefully you see it now. Dear Lord. Point being, it's going in the proper direction and people's eyes are opening up to this need for decentralization. It just only seems to happen when the side that's not winning, like whoever's not winning at the time is the side that decides to start pushing for decentralization, right? And I think it's important that for red team right now to support blue team in their realization that we should decentralize and we need multiple hills. And that's the hill I'll die on. All right, let's go ahead and get into the news right after a word from today's sponsor, which is yours truly. Today's sponsor is myself. To support the channel, click the join button below the video and you will get access to our privately hosted Rocket Chat. Selecting the $1.99 option will get you access, and after that you need to head over to the membership tab, scroll down, and expand out your membership perks. Find the section for connecting on social media, and in that section there will be a secret registration URL to join Rocket Chat, where you can sign up to enjoy talking with other cryptocurrency enthusiasts and miners without spammers, scammers, or bots. Boom! And welcome back. Let's go ahead and talk about Republican lawmaker claims SEC chair was coordinating with FTX to obtain regulatory monopoly. Minnesota Representative Tom Emmer did not provide any evidence to his claim that Gary Gensler was helping SBF and FTX work on legal loopholes, but said he was looking into the matter. Tom Emmer, the recently re-elected Republican lawmaker representing Minnesota's 6th district in the United States House of Representatives, has alleged Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler had been helping FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried to gain, quote, a regulatory monopoly through the crypto firm. I'm just going to say it right now. There's no proof of this in general, but whenever you hear the term regulation or like anything with regulation in general, I want you to understand or start connecting the dots, at least from my perspective, that all I see there is essentially not to protect the public, but to enrich the people that are making the policies. It appears to be what happens now in our government. And when I hear things like this, I tend to lean towards believing them. But like I said, I have to take it with a grain of salt and be very, very careful. We can't make accusations towards Gensler specifically, but it is a pretty big step for a representative to come out and make these accusations. This isn't the type of accusation that you would make as a representative. I would hope not, without some sort of proof or backing behind it, right? In a November 10th tweet, Emmer criticized Gensler for, quote, running to the media amid FTX's liquidity issues causing ripples throughout the crypto market. According to the Republican lawmaker, his team was looking into the SEC chair's alleged collaboration with Bankman-Fried and FTX, but only cited reports presented to his office as evidence without providing details. Interesting, Gary Gensler runs to the media while reports to my office allege he was helping SBF and FTX work on legal loopholes to obtain regulatory monopoly, and we're looking into this. Gensler spoke on CNBC's Squawk Box shortly before Emmer's statement, not disputing records that SBF met with SEC officials on March 29th. The SEC chair said many similar meetings led to the same message to crypto industry leaders, quote, non-compliance is not going to work, but did not confirm reports that the regulatory body was investigating the FTX US exchange. Quote, when you mix together a bunch of customer money, non-disclosure, and leverage, borrowing against it, and inside these companies trading, investors get hurt, end quote, said Gensler, also citing the collapse of Terra. Quote, this is a very interconnected world in crypto with a few concentrated players at the middle. When markets turned on them, it appears that a lot of customers lost money, end quote. Bankman-Fried is no stranger to Capitol Hill, having testified in December of 2021 before the House Committee on Financial Services on the challenges crypto firms faced with regard to regulatory clarity. Committee Chair Maxine Waters issued a statement on November 10th pushing for federal oversight of crypto trading platforms and consumer protection amid FTX facing liquidity issues, but did not suggest the sort of coordination between the exchange and SEC that Emmer claimed. The ongoing saga with FTX and SBF has resulted in extreme volatility across the crypto market and uneasiness from many users looking for status of their funds. Bankman-Fried issued a public apology via Twitter on November 10th, claiming responsibility for not providing enough transparency during FTX's liquidity crunch. Now, if you have some sort of craziness going on between, essentially a centralized exchange and the SEC, the head of the SEC, let's throw the tinfoil hat on here. Let's talk about what the real goals of the SEC are within the U.S., right? Because the public facing goals of the SEC sound simple, right? Regulate financial markets to protect the public. That is what it is. But what it has actually been used for could be debatable as to whether or not it actually is there to essentially protect the public. I think in some cases, sure, right? It's a fine line. If all the time, no. If you're wanting to get a foothold into controlling a market or to taking over a new market, say like a cryptocurrency, and you're working with basically an exchange that is essentially participating in the very things that you would regulate against, there arises a lot of questions. Could this be, right? Tinfoil hat. I'm not saying it's probably not true, right? But could this be a conspiracy to collapse the crypto market and just say, hey, look, guys, we need to regulate this. How Sam Bankman-Fried is treated by the U.S. government and law, basically by the legal system, I think will be telling as far as this moves forward. I would wear my tinfoil hat much longer if he ends up being in protective custody or some sort of situation like that. That's when I would start to have questions surrounding what is actually happening here. Once again, tinfoil hat. I'm not saying it's true. It's just a possibility. We have accusations from a Republican House of Representative against Gary Gensler working with Sam Bankman-Fried, and we have essentially a complete collapse of one of the largest centralized exchanges during a bear market at a time when it has been clear the SEC is trying to take regulatory control over the cryptocurrency market. All right. So we have more, and we're going to actually talk about this because we're going to get more into FTX here in just a second. I'm all up to date. I have everything up to date. Everybody that's in chat, yes, I got you, boo. Here's the deal, though. We're also seeing seizures. Fred sees $3.36 billion in historic crypto bust found inside Georgia home in a popcorn tin. It is the Department of Justice's second largest financial seizure to date. Federal authorities have seized $3.36 billion in a historic cryptocurrency bust in connection with the Silk Road dark web fraud. The U.S. Attorney's Office of the Southern District of New York announced this week. Now, we've covered Silk Road a couple times on this channel. Silk Road essentially was a way for people to purchase and receive. Basically, think of it like Amazon for illegal items. It could be anything from drugs to guns to whatever you want, right? That's kind of what it was. And really, I think it took a long time for essentially, I suppose, how do you put it? Regulatory bodies and governments to, and the government in general, right, and law enforcement to realize what was happening, figure out how to work, or how to actually track it down and how to actually stop it, right? Funny enough, it's taken many, many years for them to actually get to this point. And then there is discussion surrounding that, should you as a law enforcement agency stop people from purchasing drugs, for example, if it was just drugs or whatever. Because the inventor of the Silk Road initially, just to be clear, was very on the libertarian side of things. I don't think it was initially meant for, and the story is fascinating, by the way. And like I always say, there's great good and great evil in everybody, and it depends on decisions you make throughout your life. That's kind of like how I talk to my kids about this type of thing, right? You can very quickly go down the wrong path, especially when you were doing stuff like this. I don't think that Silk Road was initially invented with ill intention in mind. I don't think it was meant to be used for all of the nefarious things that it was used for. And then there's great debate on whether or not you should really prosecute people for drugs, essentially. So I think that there's that, right? But it took the point here is it took them a long time to catch up, right? And then now they're starting to confiscate, right? The Department of Justice announced Monday it seized about $3.36 billion in stolen Bitcoin during a previously unannounced 2021 raid on the Georgia residence of James Zong, or Hong. Hong pleaded guilty Friday to one count of wire fraud, which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. The U.S. Attorney's Office announced in a press release. Hong had unlawfully obtained 50,676 Bitcoin, then valued at over $3.36 billion from the Silk Road dark web internet marketplace, authorities say. Silk Road launched in 2011, but the FBI shut it down in 2013. And its founder, Ross William Albright, is now serving a life sentence in prison since 2015 on an unrelated case, CNBC reported. Authorities said they discovered the Bitcoin in Hong's Gainesville, Georgia home during a search of his house in November 9th, 2021. The Bitcoin is found in a circuit board hidden inside a popcorn tin, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said in a press release. Quote, James Hong committed wire fraud over a decade ago where he stole approximately 50,000 Bitcoin from Silk Road. For almost 10 years, the whereabouts of the massive chunk of missing Bitcoin had ballooned into an over $3.3 billion mystery, end quote, Williams said. Thanks to state-of-the-art cryptocurrency tracing and good old-fashioned police work, law enforcement located and recovered this impressive cache of crime proceeds. This case shows that we won't stop following the money, no matter how expertly hidden, even to a circuit board in the bottom of a popcorn tin. And this should be a warning sign to everybody that's participating within Bitcoin. The Bitcoin maxis out there that always want to say that there is no use for any other currency. Here is the long and short of it. What we are seeing is a regulatory attack on cryptocurrency. That's a fact, right? That's what we're seeing from the SEC right now. We know that that's happening. We know that the White House has announced that they want more regulations surrounding cryptocurrency. And it will probably be the case that cryptocurrency to a certain level for certain citizens under certain circumstances in the U.S. will be restricted, meaning that you will not be allowed to have it. I don't think that the ownership of cryptocurrency in general should find you guilty, right? You should be innocent until proven guilty. Just because you own cryptocurrency does not mean that you are going to do anything illegal with that cryptocurrency. Not any different than having a bunch of cash should basically mean that you were going to do anything illegal with that cash. Problem being, we have a few weird things that are going on here, and this is why we're also going to tie this back into mining for the people that want to pay attention. But first things first is that there is a need for some sort of privacy coins. As a cypherpunk, I would point to privacy coins being something that should be an individual right and utilized to protect the sovereign individual from nation states, meaning that you should be looking at the viability of things like Zcash, Monero, and so on. And just because you want privacy does not mean you are doing anything illegal. And it should not be considered in that manner, even though that is the way it will be presented, hands down. Okay. Secondary to that, if you were to want to talk about any cryptocurrency and how dirty it is, well, then we have a problem, right? Let's say Mr. James here had that 50,000 Bitcoin, and then he ordered something from you, maybe through Coinbase Commerce on your website. Let's say it was, a big dildo, and you just wanted that. I think I bleeped out the wrong word. Let's just say he wanted that for something, and you're a dildo salesman online. He orders that dildo, and it gets sent to his house, and he pays you in Bitcoin that is tied to and been tracked by the FBI to be bad Bitcoin. And then basically the FBI comes to you later and seizes your Bitcoin. You've done nothing wrong. You are legally allowed to manufacture and sell big dildos if you want to sell big dildos. You have the right to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But because you have tainted Bitcoin that they have traced down and deemed to be part of something illegal, they will confiscate that Bitcoin. So the only way for you to actually obtain pure, clean Bitcoin at the end of the day is to mine it yourself. And that is why mining is important. Authorities say Hong was able to steal the funds from Silk Road by exploiting a flaw in the website's payment system, the BBC reported. In September 2012, he set up several accounts on Silk Road and deposited an amount of Bitcoin into his digital wallets, and then found a way to withdraw far larger amounts rapidly so as not to raise suspicion, BBC reported. It is the Justice Department's second largest financial seizure to date, following its seizure of $3.6 billion in allegedly stolen cryptocurrency linked to the 2016 hack of the crypto exchange Bitfinex, which the DOJ announced in February, CNBC reported. I believe this makes, of course, the federal government one of the largest holders of Bitcoin, the U.S. government, one of the largest holders of Bitcoin. And I do think it'll get extremely interesting here to see how this plays out on the global scale at the end of the day. Meaning that, like, at what point does the government, the nation state holding of Bitcoin, become a global force in the economy, right? At what point do you see Russia versus the US versus China in the amount of Bitcoin they hold as a government? I think that's going to be something that's going to be really interesting. Let's get back into FTX though, because obviously the crypto markets are taking a dump and the Fed seizure is now worth a lot less than it used to be. SBF has tweeted today. He said, "Hi all. Today I filed FTX, FTX US, and Alameda for voluntary Chapter 11 proceedings in the US." He says, "I'm really sorry again that we ended up here. Hopefully things can find a better way to recover. Hopefully this can bring an amount of transparency." And this is where I throw that gosh darn tinfoil hat back on. I'm going to be look, I'm not trying to be the Alex Jones of cryptocurrency here, but sometimes I swear it's hard not. The first thing he wants to let you know is that obviously, hopefully this ends in more transparency. He's been working with Gary Gensler and meeting with him, and now he has screwed over all of his customers. And the first thing in mind is that he wants to make sure you're okay with more transparency on the rest of the crypto market. He says, ultimately, He says, ultimately, hopefully it can be better for customers. Now, ultimately, it can be better for the SEC's ability to regulate and control the cryptocurrency market. He says, this doesn't necessarily have to mean the end for companies or their ability to provide value and funds to their customers chiefly, and can be consistent with other routes. Ultimately, he says, I'm optimistic that Mr. Ray and others can help provide what is best. He says, I'm going to work with giving clarity on where things are in terms of user recovery ASAP. And he says, I'm piecing together all the details, but I was shocked to see things unravel the way they did earlier this week. I will soon write up a more complete post on play-by-play, but I want to make sure that I get it right when I do. I don't believe him. I don't trust him. And I don't think, and I like, if his first step is going to go, I want to move into, like, hopefully this provides more transparency on the rest of the market. All that tells me is that, like, there's things going, there's things afoot, it feels like. So, let's talk about FTX's official announcement. This is the official announcement for the bankruptcy. FTX Group companies commence voluntary Chapter 11 proceedings in the United States. Begin orderly process to review and monetize assets for benefit of global stakeholders. John J. Ray III, appointed Chief Executive Officer, and Sam Bankman-Fried resigns. So FTX Trading Limited announced today that it, West Realm Shire Services Incorporated, doing business as FTX US, Alameda Research Limited, and approximately 130 additional affiliated companies, together the FTX Group, have commenced voluntary proceedings under Chapter 11 of the United States Bankruptcy Code in the District of Delaware in order to begin an orderly process to review and monetize assets for the benefit of all global stakeholders. John J. Ray III has been appointed Chief Executive Officer of the FTX Group. Sam Bankman-Fried has resigned his role as Chief Executive Officer and will remain to assist in an orderly transition. Many employees of the FTX Group in various countries are expected to continue with the FTX Group and assist Mr. Ray and independent professionals in its operations during the Chapter 11 proceedings. Quote, the immediate relief of Chapter 11 is appropriate to provide the FTX Group the opportunity to assess its situation and develop a process to maximize recoveries for stakeholders, said Mr. Ray. The FTX Group has valuable assets that can only be effectively administered in an organized joint process. I want to ensure that every employee, customer, creditor, contract party, stockholder, investor, government authority, and other stakeholders that we are going to conduct this effort with diligence, thoroughness, and transparency. Stakeholders should understand that that events have been fast-moving and the new team is engaged only recently. Stakeholders should review the materials filed on the docket of proceedings over the coming days for more information. And it says the following subsidiaries are not included in the Chapter 11 proceedings: Ledger X LLC, FTX Digital Markets Limited, FTX Australia Party Limited, and FTX Express Pay Limited. Now, oh man, there's the official. And the thing is I think it's important to acknowledge that that filing for bankruptcy will affect, of course, the price of FTT in general, will probably affect the price of Solana. And Solana is where a lot of contagion could come across, not only to large players like Crypto.com or Binance and so on. It's going to at least affect the Solana network. NFT marketplaces will be potentially affected too by this. So pay attention to whatever Solana tied NFT marketplaces there are. And then the last one would be, well, where'd it go? Yeah. BlockFi here. So here's BlockFi. This is the big one. BlockFi says, we are shocked and dismayed by the news regarding FTX and Alameda. We, like the rest of the world, found out about this situation through Twitter. Given the lack of clarity on the status of FTX.com, FTX US, and Alameda, we are not able to operate business as usual. Our priority has been and will continue to be to protect our clients and their interests. Until there is further clarity, we are limiting platform activity, including pausing client withdrawals, as allowed under our terms. We will share more specifics as soon as possible. We request that clients not deposit to BlockFi wallet or interest accounts at this time. We intend to communicate as frequently as possible going forward, but I anticipate that this will be less frequent than what our clients and our stakeholders are used to. Basically, just to be extremely clear here, BlockFi is done. BlockFi's done. They're done. They're cooked. Remember the bailout for BlockFi. So there was Celsius. Didn't get a bailout. BlockFi got a bailout from FTX. Which in hindsight, I remember we talked about it. I said, I have zero confidence in BlockFi even after the FTX acquisition. I made some apologies for running, of course. We didn't run ads, but I think we ran an interview and I had talked about them, for the affiliate code before. I said, hey, I'm walking that back. I wouldn't use them at all. We did that, during that acquisition. Glad that's where we're at as a channel because clearly, from my perspective, BlockFi is done skis. I don't think that they have much hope because their bailout came from FTX. It is also important to note that BlockFi utilizes Gemini for custody. Now, that was part of the interview that we did with BlockFi. So I'm pulling that from the interview. So there is potential that Gemini has some exposure. I mean, more than likely Gemini has a lot of exposure. The question is how much is on their balance sheet and how much, how does that, is it going to be, it'll probably be okay. Gemini is going to survive. What I'm trying to say is how much does that impact the entire market as a whole, right? And then obviously you do have similar features in other exchanges that you want to be aware of that could fall victim to this from the contagion. Obviously, crypto.com earn could be something that you want to be cautious surrounding. And I did make a tweet yesterday. I want to make this one clear as well, because we had, and I felt like I had to do this one because essentially we did have crypto.com as a sponsor. So I said, look, I've been off exchanges for a long time and I've told most of you to stay off of them. However, crypto.com was a sponsor. And right now I want to make it clear you should fully pull out of all services, including the card and self-custody. If I personally, I have the Ruby card. I never upgraded to any of the higher. I'm going to keep it. It's like $100 to stay locked up in Crow at this time, something like that. But like if that $100 is something like you need, like you should liquidate that and pull that out, right? Just to be clear. And I've never advocated for you holding anything in there. We've never talked about earn. We've never advertised earn or any of the other features like that. We never advertised their NFT. Told them I wasn't comfortable with that. The only thing we utilized it for was liquidating our crypto to pay bills. I want to make that clear. So this isn't off base or out of character for me to tell you guys not to hold anything on crypto.com. But I wanted to make the clarification to not hold anything on crypto.com because they were a sponsor. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And at this time, because of their earn stuff and the potential there, I would be cautious surrounding essentially earn, etc. I had a question in the replies. You think we should short Crow? No. I'm not saying short anything. I'm not saying crypto.com is going to fail. I am basically reiterating my principled standpoint on the fact that I don't think you should hold any significant amount of currency within an exchange. And because they were a sponsor, I wanted to clarify that, especially right now with everything surrounding the rest of the cryptocurrency market. Let's get into miner releases now for the day 2, which is Team Black Miner version 1.74, released 23 hours ago. Number 1, they removed rejected shares bug on ETH proxy pools. Number 2, they fixed a bug in pool speed on ETH proxy and VAR diff pools. Number 3, the VAR diff pool speed in the console now resets on every difficulty change. Number 4, fixed the ZIL DAG cache for AMD, faster switches between ZIL, Ethereum Classic, and ETH. And 5, CPU verification moved to submit thread. So if you guys are interested in checking out Team Miner version 1.74, definitely do it. Let's get into, well, mining profitability or lack thereof right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is myself. To support the channel, click the join button below the video and you will get access to our privately hosted Rocket Chat. Selecting the $1.99 option will get you access, and after that you need to head over to the membership tab, scroll down, and expand out your membership perks. Find the section for connecting on social media, and in that section there will be a secret registration URL to join Rocket Chat, where you can sign up to enjoy talking with other cryptocurrency enthusiasts and miners without spammers, scammers, or bots. That was some good water. I hope you guys decide to support the channel by hitting that join button, or better yet, check out the pinned comment for locals. I do also want to, a quick announcement. Interestingly enough, today will probably be the last game stream on Twitch, possibly. I have a contract from Rumble Gaming. They're starting a gaming portion for streaming, etc. I'll be getting you guys the info for that, of course. And it looks like we have a contract to stream 50 hours a month over on Rumble. And that will be super fun. So I have a lot of stuff that I want to plan out and do over there on Rumble. So I hope to see you guys over there at rumble.com/sonofatech. More details on that later. Today's stream, like I said, is going to be on twitch.tv/blindrun later on. And we're also going to be talking more crypto. And if you guys really want to get into tinfoil hat and craziness, we're going to be over there on Twitch and be talking about everything, all this craziness with the SEC and so on. Now, what to mine? RTX 3090, we got ZIL hash, Kapal, ProgPal, and Firo proof of work corrected hash rates at 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And it's losing money. But we got this weird one, of course. Look at this. Recent difficulty spike. EtherGem coming out at only losing 6 cents a day. 6 cents a day after power. Making 71 cents a day in revenue. I guess we'll have to review it at some point. But we also got Caspa. Rocking the Caspa. Losing 32 cents a day after power. Scrolling down from there, I think you lose a little less on Ergo. Nope, Ergo kind of took a big hit. We'll take a look at why here in just a second. Ergo is losing 33 cents a day after power. And Ethereum Classic is losing 47 cents a day after power. So there you go. As far as all that's concerned, Ravencoin losing 42 cents a day after power. Let's take a look at what's going on here, because I heard, we did hit it. Technically, no. Okay. I had heard that the hash rate was significantly increasing, but no, that's not the case. It does look like we're going down in hash rate. Miners are starting to capitulate, or whatever the word WCCF tech likes to use with that. Look, it's simply insane, the amount of hash rate that's on Bitcoin compared to the price. Bitcoin is down 18% over the past 7 days. It is under the $17,000 mark, and it is causing people to get scared and bump out. But the difficulty is technically at an all-time freaking high. So, do you want to mine Bitcoin? Do you want to mine Bitcoin? Well, obviously, like we've talked about before, Bitcoin mining is heavily institutionalized. Even with the support for cryptocurrency in states like Texas, they give huge favors to behind-the-meter miners and power companies that mine directly for themselves, and they F over everybody else to the point to where I pay PCRA fees, or basically recovery fees, when the grid is needed to have the Bitcoin miners shut off, and then basically I'm paying fees to pay a Bitcoin miner as a miner myself because I don't have the capital to do it. So institutionalized Bitcoin mining, this is what it looks like. Bitcoin mining crashes and difficulty goes up. It is what it is. I kind of hope to a certain extent that we get some better distribution surrounding this. But when I look at stuff like this, I will say that to a certain extent, I'm extremely disappointed. I think that a lot of us, we want to see this kind of idealistic future for Bitcoin, but it turns into the same thing that we've seen over and over and over again. Economies of scale, etc. And I think it's fair to point out and be honest when you feel disappointed about that stuff. You're right. And I just do. And like the GPU mining's not much better, right? Because right now, like we saw, we got HUD 8 taking, getting the most powerful GPUs for NVIDIA while they block the consumers by putting hash rate blockers on their cards. It's simply criminal. Borderline criminal. All right, we got 15% decrease in the price of Ethereum Classic, and the hash rate is down a little bit to 151 terahash a second. ETH Proof of Work is down 34% over the past 7 days and is sitting at 30 terahash a second. And Ethereum Fair is down 20% at 4.1 terahash a second. Flux has some exposure to Solana and thereby in turn also to FTX, which is not boding well for its price. It is down 40% over the past 7 days and is sitting under 7 mega solutions a second for the first time since the merge. The last interview with Daniel Keller, I tried to ask about what they do to vet projects that they decide to partner with. Solana clearly being one of them. Solana clearly being not a great idea. And then, they had been working on the Terra Luna partnership as well. I think that there needs to be some better due diligence on their end. Once again, I'll go back to that, we all have great evil and great good in us. And it's the decisions we make that push that in one direction. I would also say it's like a lot harder to be good than it is to be great. And that is because you have to make the good decision every single time. And people also don't appreciate it as much, and that's a Ben Shapiro thing. So yeah, sure. But I think it's a good philosophy. I think what I mean to say is that I think that Flux has the greatest intentions, and that we could work a little bit on the due diligence, maybe for the choosing of the networks. And I know I've already said this before, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but Daniel, like, I'm just going to say it again. Like, I want to know what you guys are doing to vet this out. Could you have seen it? Probably not. Like, I didn't see it, right? Like, it's hard to see that stuff and then like play that out down the line. I get it. I'm not saying I would do any better, but as a team, maybe we could all do better, I suppose. Ergo is down 11% over the past 7 days and is at 45 terahash a second. And then if we take a look at Caspa, it's up 20% over the past 7 days and sitting at 174 terahash a second. ASIC miner profitability puts the Antminer L7 at $11.13 a day on Doge, putting it into first place, but obviously taking a huge hit. The iPolo V1 is sitting at $13.90 a day after power on the Zilliqa and ETH dual mining mode, or ETHW dual mining mode. The Jasminer X4 is sitting at $13.28 a day on the ZIL and Ethereum Classic mode. And the Antminer E9 is doing $9.62 a day with ZIL and ETHW. So those are all seeming pretty good, I suppose. Easel.me, huh? iPolo V1 Classic's profitable. Quite a few Ethereum miners profitable right now in there. We got the Gold Shell HS3 Handshake at $5.13 a day after power. And then scrolling down to the Antminer S19 Pro, which we like to check every day, it is losing 42 cents a day on Digibyte, pretty much losing cash across the board. Let's go into brief questions and answers. I got about 1, 2, 3. I got 8 minutes for you guys, and then I'm going to try to go to jiu-jitsu. I have a little phlegm I'm coughing up. I'm a little worried about overtraining this week. Today was the first week back in training, and I might take a break, but either way, we're not swapping straight from YouTube to Twitch today. I will be trying to get some sort of a workout in, and then I got to re-up on some groceries and stuff like that. But tonight we're going to be streaming. We're going to be streaming pretty much all day today over on twitch.tv. So hope to see you guys over there. Remember, super chats are never required, always appreciated, first to be answered because they're the easiest to read, and obviously supporting the channel will mean that I can do and make more content. And in addition to that, tagging at Son of a Tech will highlight the message orange. Over on sonofatech.locals, you can become a member for free. You do not have to pay to sign up, and I would highly encourage you to go over there because what I need from you is a way to contact you and send you notifications for things I'm doing. What I noticed today is that there was I set the stream live or basically scheduled it an hour ahead of the stream, and for whatever reason, it never popped on my main page or in the sub boxes for the other test things that I have to test for. So it only popped up once we were live. So notifications are not working, like pre-notifications are not working for the live shows anymore for whatever reason. So if you go sign up on sonofatech.locals.com, you'll get the notifications over there. And once again, like I said, it's free to sign up. You can choose to support me over there if you do so choose so. And thanks to everybody that does support me over on Locals. Mike B says, at Son of a Tech, WTF is Ether Gem. Well, we'll take a look at that later on Twitch. Patrick says, at Son of a Tech, I'm also working up to be a content creator. I'm going to Rumble, probably exclusively. I would not recommend Rumble exclusively for being a content creator because it doesn't have discoverability. So if you are a new content creator, you should utilize platforms that have discoverability. Really, the only one that does is YouTube. The only success that we've had on Twitch, for example, by the way, is because I push you guys from YouTube over to Twitch. So even Twitch is not really a good case because Twitch is depending on the amount of viewers that you have. But Twitch would still be more discoverable in my humble opinion. And I could talk to you about strategies, or we could even make a video and I could talk to you guys about what my successes and failures in content creation are. If you're interested in that, I could start doing vlogs about that on the Blind Run channel, because I have a lot of insight, because I fail a lot and I've had some success. So let me know. But I would not recommend doing Rumble exclusively as a new content creator. I would highly recommend discoverable places, things. YouTube, obviously, if you're wanting to do long form content, is going to be the primary focus there. But other places that have good discoverability, if you want to start to learn them, is like going to be Instagram, TikTok, and I think, yeah, Instagram and TikTok, I believe, are going to be the two big ones. So, for discoverability and all that, that's what I focused on, the YouTube channel. So there you go. We got a $20 super chat coming to Xcraft LLC. Says, down to cold wallets only. Appreciate the honesty when it comes to sponsors. I am glad you got your crypto protected, good sir. Moria says, Ask Simon Tech, how much coins did you get on Caspa a day with 1 gigahash when you tried the first time? No comment. Get out of here. Trying to steal my Caspa, bro. I had a guy the other day, just put your Caspa address up. I was, no, it's mine. Precious. Trying to get insight into my Caspa bags. No Caspa bag details for you. I am me, says Ask Simon Tech for CDC DeFi wallet a while back ago. Crypto.com. He says, I had tried to use it and showed that it wasn't able to connect to a server. Others had the same problem. How is it even possible for a DeFi wallet? I don't know. I never used the DeFi wallet. Carlos Marcelo says, Ask Simon Tech, I tried asking the other day, but how come no mention of the Antminer KA3 for ASIC profitability? It's not on the list right now. I don't know why it's not on the list, to be completely honest with you, at MinerStat, but it's literally just the tool we're using that doesn't have it listed yet. Detroit Iris says, Ask Simon Tech, is Rumble Gaming the same as the normal Rumble app? I'll get more details for you today. My rep or whatever, super nice guy. He also helped me out with locals. Is sending over a contract today. He said expect it by the end of the day. So I'll have all the details for you. Happy Dictator says, Ask Simon Tech, video idea how to not get wrecked by exchanges. Topic, cold storage, hot wallets, and self-custody. I have done that in the past. We could do a new one, I suppose. I already have videos lined up for the weekend because we've already pre-recorded or predetermined the data. Right, I've already downloaded all that, so those videos are already going to be done and decided on. But for next weekend, we can start working on them. Remember, next week the schedule's a little different. Monday and Tuesday we're doing the live show, and then we head to Wisconsin for the ASIC miner repair and the dinner. Yeah. So if you guys are going to be out there, come say hi. Patrick says, Ask Simon Tech has good advice. I'm a First Amendment absolutist, so kind of a quandary. Well, it depends on your content, sure. But always remember, you can be a First Amendment absolutist and then still understand that like private companies are going to make decisions that you may or may not agree with. Now, if YouTube makes a decision that you super adamantly, like from a principled standpoint, can't get past, then I understand it. But, I'm trying to think of a good example. I mean, I still shop at Walmart, right? I'm broke. I got to go to Walmart. I don't really have a choice. Like at a certain point, my principal has to be put to the side so that I can take care of my kids and my family, right? And feed them and clothe them and whatever, right? But I don't agree with everything. Like I don't agree with them moving to, purchasing a majority of their goods from China and hurting the U.S. As far as from a manufacturing standpoint. Tricky Mix says, at Simon Tech, I would love to see some videos about how to get started in content creation and what it took for you to get your format solidified. For sure. Black Cat Crypto says, at Simon Tech, content creation vlogs would be awesome. Sounds like it's something we can do on the Blind Run channel. Kevin says, at Simon Tech, any advice I've got on the I've got an S19J Pro 104 terahash and I'm getting abnormal fan speed. One of the fans I replaced and the fans still have the issue, and switch out the control board and still have the same problem. That's interesting. Switching out the control board is causing the same problem. I wonder if you have some bad sensors on the hash boards that are causing the fans to go up and down based on the speed. But you should be able to, obviously, like within the firmware, set the fans. So if you go in and you said you replaced the fan, but I mean, like for troubleshooting this, like obviously go in and set the fan speed to a set, like 80% or whatever. Then if you're still fluctuating, I suppose I would be worried about obviously the control board, which you already said you replaced, or the fan, or the connection for like somewhere in the connection of the fan. Josh Clement says, S7 Tech, if any miner supports the A750 on Linux yet? Nope, I don't. Harvey said, S7 Tech, thoughts on HNT mining still being the most efficient, profitable mining. I have 2 Bobcats making a total of $1 a day. I am worried about contagion. HNT is high on my list of FTX contagion failure because of their move to the Solana network. KJ says, S7 Tech, thoughts on Exodus. They have links in their program to FTX, and I'm a little worried. I think Exodus does have, they have, so just like Zelcore, like Zelcore from Flux has integration with FTX, and so did Exodus, but they're not, how do I put it? None of the liquidity is tied there. It's just a tie to the actual exchange, right? So Flux is in the position of being in trouble because they have parallel assets. Basically, they have Flux wrapped or Solana wrapped Flux on the Solana network that could basically be exposed. Exodus doesn't have any of that, so just a tie to the exchange within the wallet app would not be something I would necessarily flag right away, because all that is just connecting you to the exchange. Kane says, at Son of a Tech, you showed your Caspa by mistake ages ago, and I'll say is $1 or even 50 cents Caspa would be wild. Shh! That was on Twitch. Gunme says, at Son of a Tech, some of the fan sensors for fan speeds don't respond quickly enough, especially if you buy upgraded fans. I shot myself with that problem building an S10 last year. Okay. Thanks, Gunmuse. Kevin says, at Son of a Tech, thanks. All right, boys, I'm going to head out. It's 11:20. I already stayed 5 minutes past when I should. Hit the like, comment, subscribe, notification bell down below. And make sure you share out the stream. Be the notifications. Share the video out. If you find the information helpful, please share it out. I am depending on you guys to get through this bear market with me. And we will rise like a phoenix in 2025, right? That's the deal. For now, I'm going to go get that day job going. Which, by the way, day job is delayed till the 28th. So all the way through, what would that be? 27th, 26th, all the way through the 25th. The show will be in the morning. I'll see you next Tuesday. Go sign up at Locals for notifications.